We woke up at 5:30 this morning and had a quick breakfast, then a lecture on what to expect and the do's and don'ts when being around gorillas. The guide reminded us that no sick people can go on this trek, and if we were sick, they would refund the $500 trekking permit. The guide explained that it was important for us to get to the gorillas early in the morning before they finished eating breakfast and breaking camp. Otherwise, the gorillas would move further into the jungle and we may not get to see them. The guide further explained that we would only spend 60 minutes in the presence of gorillas, so as not to disturb the routine, acclimate them to humans, or worse, irritate them. The guide says there are 10 gorilla groups in the mountain, but only 4 of which are open to visitors. The guide assigns my Italian friends Group M, while my Australian friends and I are assigned Group H. Well, we're at 1,600 feet, or 1,600 meters above sea level, and it's getting kind of difficult to breathe. I can feel being a little lightheaded and nauseous, and they said to be careful about altitude sickness. Because of this, I'm hiring a porter. He's going to carry 3 liters of water, my camera gear, and then we're going to be hiking about 500 meters again into the mountains. So because of that, like I said, I'm hiring a porter, and I'm feeling kind of lightheaded. We'll see what happens. So because of the high altitude, I hired Moses here to be my porter. The reason for the ranger with the AK-47 is not to protect tourists from gorillas, but from guerrillas. In March 1999, 14 tourists were kidnapped and 8 hacked to death with machetes by Rwanda Hutu rebels. Now 60 Ugandan soldiers work with rangers protecting tourists. In the local language of bwindi, bwindi means dark place. The history of the park started in 1932 when 80 square miles were turned into a reserve and named Crown Forest Reserve. In 1964, 2 nearby reserves were merged into the main reserve for a total of 123 square miles. In 1991, the reserve was reclassified as a national park and renamed Bwindi Impenetrable National Park. As a consequence, the Batwa Pygmy people were evicted and denied access to the area or its resources. Bwindi was inscribed as a World Heritage Site in 1994.
But also we have chimps there. And you know that the Bwindi is the only forest where we have 2 great apes living together. The chimps and mountain gorillas. So by luck I can see the chimps.
After our guide got a gorilla sighting report from a spotter, we continued trekking up the hill when we come across a Cob House. Cob is similar to adobe. Both use clay, sand, straw, and water. The difference is adobe adds manure and Cob adds earth. The design of the house is ingenious and efficient, using available materials to build a dry and warm habitat. Adding a sill, door, and lock, the house can be secured and the whole family can go work in the fields. The hill starts to level out and we get a respite, catching our breaths before cresting the hill and starting a steep, slippery, and treacherous descent into the valley. The guide bringing up the rear seems a bit irritated at my slowness and tells me not to lose sight of the group. My porter had stopped and waited for me. I could sense an easing of tensions among the guards and porters when I was back with the group. After a while of trekking, the group stops and I can hear the guide at the very front talking, but I can't quite make out what he's saying. This guy tells me there's gorilla.
Shit!
How big is it?
I'd say it's about 12 centimeter.
Gorillas are known to practice autocoprophagia, the consumption of their own feces. Scientists speculate reingestion of partially digested seeds may improve the absorption of vitamins or other nutritive elements. It's a steep hill we're climbing down, and people and the guides are constantly falling down. Carrying a big camera in my hand makes the descent that much more challenging, and I'm just waiting for my turn to take a tumble. As you can see, I've taken a few good tumbles here. I think all of us have. A lot of times we're just sliding down the hill on our behinds, just making sure we don't fall and just go fall all the way down the cliff. We reach the bottom of the steep valley and walk into a swamp created from all the drained water from the surrounding highlands. The vegetation gets thorny and the going gets slow as people get tangled up in the razor-sharp thorn bushes.
We're deep in the jungle on the side of a mountain, and we're trekking a gorilla group called Age Group. And it's slow going because this is very thick vegetation, and it's we're at, like I said, 1,600 meters, so we're all very tired and trying to trek through the jungle. The guide in front of us has a machete and is actually cutting a path for us.
We unexpectedly come across a large silverback male, and the guide tells us to back away very slowly. But before we can react, the gorilla charges us and stops, defending and asserting its territory. The guide tells us to be still, but we are too excited at seeing a wild gorilla in the jungle to be afraid. We all pull out our cameras and start filming, oblivious to the danger.
This is the one that charges, yes?
The gorilla jumps up and turns around, catching us off guard, then walks off into the jungle. We quiet down and regain our composure after our surprise encounter with the silverback male. I can see the guides are a bit rattled, and we're taken off guard as well. The guide starts moving into the jungle and hacking a path for the group, when I realize the group is still 50 feet behind me. The guide spots a gorilla about 100 feet into the jungle and starts to hack towards it. It's thick vegetation and slow going. I can barely make out a gorilla through the dense jungle and wonder if we can catch up to it when the gorilla starts tearing down trees and scaring us to death. The ground is turning into water, and I'm concerned as to how deep it's going to get. The gorilla climbs a tree, either for a quick bite to eat or to escape from us. The silverback is now high in a tree eating, so we move in kind of closer. And the water level is getting higher and the footing is getting treacherous as we climb over these wet and slippery logs. I have to really pay attention when I put down my feet so I don't fall face first into the mud. And when I look up, I'm only a couple feet away from a gorilla. The rest of the group finally catches up and people start jockeying for viewing positions, cameras in hand. Next time you go trekking for gorillas in the jungle, make sure you wear the appropriate footwear. The silverback disappears into the thick brush, so we start to follow and he decides to reappear and give us a scare. We all freeze into place whispering, oh my god, and making sure we're all getting that great video footage. You can clearly see the silver on this male's back as he walks away from us into the jungle. We follow the silverback deeper into the swampy jungle and come across a mother gorilla casually eating breakfast with a baby hanging off her back. Gorillas spend most of their day eating, and they're predominantly herbivores, specifically foliivores, eating fruit, shoots, and leaves. Since mature leaves contain high proportions of hard-to-digest cellulose, relatively little energy, and often toxic compounds, gorillas prefer immature leaves, which tend to be higher in protein and lower in fiber and poisons than more mature leaves. A silverback is an adult male gorilla 12 years or older and named for the distinctive patch of silver hair on their back. Silverbacks are the strong, dominant troop leaders. Each silverback leads a troop ranging from 5 to 30 gorillas and is the center of the troop's attention, making all the decisions, mediating conflicts, determining the movement of the troop, and taking responsibility for the safety and well-being of that troop. Gestation for female gorilla is 8.5 months. A newborn gorilla weighs about 5 pounds, has little hair, and its skin is pinkish gray. Infants stay with their mothers for 3 to 4 years. There is a 40% mortality rate for newborns, so females will only have 2 to 6 offsprings in a lifetime, which spans 30 to 50 years. The mother gorilla gets tired of being gawked at and decides to get away from all the pesky humans and walks off into the jungle. She was the last of the gorillas, as all the others had shied away and were now keeping their distance from us. The guides decide to follow, and I can see the mother gorilla looking over her shoulder at us, not happy being pursued. The ground is getting more watery, and I'm not sure how much further I can go. The guide chops down some trees and builds me a path. I can see Mommy Gorilla checking us out from behind a tree in the distance, worried and anxious as we get closer to her and her infant. The group catches up and, out of curiosity and in excitement, surround Mommy Gorilla when she charges the red-headed photographer who gets too close.
Camera, $1,000. Trip to Uganda, $2,000. Watch scared, frightened white people run from a gorilla, priceless.
Our guide is not amused at our harassing the gorillas and decides it's a good time to head on back to camp. From looking at my watch, I figured we spent 55 minutes in the presence of gorillas. I'm happy. We walked pretty far into the swamp forest, and now we have to find our way out. Getting out is just as treacherous as coming in, and I really have to be careful where I step. The ground looks deceptively solid. That is until you sink knee-deep into the foam-like mud and water, and then curse yourself for that one misstep. It's time to pay the piper as we struggle to climb up the mountain, our bodies not having fully acclimated to being 6,000 feet above sea level. Luckily for us, we quickly come out of the dense underbrush of the swamp and into tea fields, which makes walking up the mountain a whole lot easier as we don't have to hack a path. The sun is out and high in the sky, beating down on us unrelentingly. The climb has gone from difficult to grueling, and even the guards are slowing down with fatigue. As tired as I am, it's still a beautiful view. We finally reach the top of the mountain, and the terrain levels out, allowing us to catch our breaths and drink some water. We walk into a village and pass farmers eager to sell us their artwork. Unfortunately, we're all too tired to notice. We crest the mountaintop and start the gradual descent back to our waiting trucks, and hopefully cold water. As tired as I am, the view is incredible, breathtaking, and well worth stopping to savor. The trucks come into view, and I look at my watch. I estimate that our total hike time was 4 hours. Everyone is tired, including the porters. Hiring a porter was a win-win situation. I was relieved from carrying 20 pounds of gear, and he earned a month's salary. On the drive back to camp, everyone is quiet. Some probably due to dehydration and exhaustion, others reflecting on their close encounter with mountain gorillas. I get back to camp, unload my gear, freshen up a bit, and walk straight to the restaurant. In the restaurant, first thing I do is order a round of Ugandan beers from my new friends from down under. Our guide comes over to our table, congratulates us on our trek, and hands us all a gorilla trekking certificate. Now this is cool, and a very nice way to end the day.